What is going on, guys? We're here for episode 7's of The Last of Us HBO series review, Raw Unedited. And I have to just start off saying that my initial reactions for this episode are really sweet, and right now, off the bat, probably my favorite episode. But I have actually talked to a couple of friends because I HBO wasn't working for me at the start, so I got started on this episode probably about 8 minutes after it was supposed to air. But while messaging them, I just said this episode is my favorite by far, and it's actually their least favorite. So I'm really curious to hear your guys' thoughts on this episode and get into more of a discussion with my other friends on what they didn't like, which will help me in my overall review of the series as it will conclude in, I guess, 2 weeks. Wow, that's crazy. But be sure to comment your guys' thoughts on each episode, and I have a playlist where you can go back and comment on your thoughts on each episode because I want to make a big edited video of my thoughts of the series overall come March once the series concludes, where I will give an official ranking of each episode on where I think it lies and give it my rating of 1 out of 10 for each episode, and then give my rating for the series as a whole. But jumping back to this episode, we cover the DLC of the game, the Left Behind DLC, and it departures from the game quite a bit drastically, because since it's DLC in the game, when you play through The Last of Us, you're not meant to play this until you've actually finished the main story, because as in episode 6 we saw that Joel got stabbed. He gets impaled differently in the game, but you don't know if he's alive or dead. And then, as we'll see probably in the next episode, what takes place in the game right after, you don't know if Joel's alive or dead. But in the DLC, you start off as Ellie, and it is her in the Fedra camp. And then Riley comes and they go on a little adventure, but then you flash forward and you actually get to see a journey of Ellie being in a mall looking for medical supplies to take care of Joel, and then she fights infected and hunters in there. So that doesn't happen in the show. In the show, Ellie just has him in the house, where she does fix him up in the game, but she finds the medical supplies in the house at the end of this episode. But yeah, let's talk about this episode. So it starts off with Ellie trying to help Joel, and then Joel just telling her, "No, go, leave," and then telling her to go back to Tommy. So she originally runs upstairs, and then as she's about to grab the door handle and turn it, she has a flashback, and so she flashbacks to her time in the Fedra camp, and she's running laps in the gym. She's got her Walkman, listening to music, and then a girl named Bethany steals the Walkman and basically tells her to pick up her pace, and just is being rude to Ellie, and then makes a comment about how Riley's not there to defend Ellie anymore. So then Ellie gets angry and punches Bethany, and we later find out that Bethany needs 15 stitches, and Bethany did give Ellie a black eye. So then there's this man talking to Ellie. I think, was it Captain Wong? I think that's what it was. He's giving Ellie a talk, telling Ellie that she's smart and that she can be higher up, and that she's kind of got two paths in front of her. She could either be a grunt or she could be an officer, where she'll have a nice, life. She'll be warm in the winter, cool in the spring, and gets to basically tell grunts what to do. And grunts are going to be people like Bethany. I think a kind of a little cool Easter egg that they have going on is when he says like the grunt work, he shoves a coffee mug in front, and then when he says, "Or you can be an officer," he lays down his keys, and there's a Naughty Dog logo on the keychain. So that was cool to see. So then Ellie's like, the keys are the way to go, so she wants to be an officer. And then she's in her little dorm room reading her Salvage Starlight comic, and then it slides out, so she goes to sleep. And then Riley sneaks into her room, and instead of making like a little clicker noise and biting her on the neck like she does in the game, she just covers Ellie's mouth and muffles her. But Ellie shoves her off and then pulls her knife on her, and it's like, Riley. They have a little dialogue that's different than the game, but gets pretty much the same point across, where Riley's like, "Here, I know you're mad at me. I've been gone." And then shares that she's joined the Fireflies. And then Ellie's like, "Okay, fine. Yeah, whatever." They have this whole conversation on whether Fedra's in the right or the Fireflies are in the right. Looking at the Fireflies as a terrorist group, looking at Fedra as being fascist. Constantly a pretty big theme of them going and bantering about that throughout the episode. But they're sneaking out, and oh my goodness, the cinematography and the shots again. That's what this series gets done so well. Like, mad shout out to the set design team. They did so wonderful. But they're running along the rooftops, hiding out, just having a fun time talking until they finally do get to the mall. And then the mall looked absolutely beautiful as Riley, when they first enter the mall, they're in a power situation, and Ellie's like, "Oh, what, are you gonna kill me here? Because this would be the perfect place to do it." And Riley's like, "Yeah, I thought about it," but tells Ellie to go through a door, turn right, go through another door, and then to stop and wait. So Ellie listens, and then Riley turns on the power to the mall, and just, you see all these stores light up with neon signs, and it is breathtaking. I absolutely loved that shot, and just seeing Ellie's eyes light up and get excited, I thought was awesome. And this is where it just comes out. I am so biased towards Ellie and Joel. They're my two favorite characters, but Ellie is probably my favorite character when it comes to The Last of Us. So any episode that's strictly about her, I'm gonna be very, very, very biased towards. But they continue to explore the mall, and I guess a little complaint that I have, they don't get to have a brick throwing game. They also don't have a water gun fight, so there's some things missing from the Left Behind DLC of Ellie and Riley's story. But they have a fun time on escalators, and I've never done this, but I actually have wanted to go the opposite way on an escalator. I'm surprised I've never done that. Probably because there's too many people on them, and I don't want to cause a scene. But Ellie has a fun time doing that, so I enjoyed that. Then they make it to a Ferris wheel, or not Ferris wheel, merry-go-round. I don't know what I'm saying. And O'Reilly actually gets to ride that one, so that's different than the game. But I'm glad that. Oh, yo. Okay, yeah. So this is totally raw and unedited, but something I forgot to make mention of. On their way to the mall, they go up 7 flights of stairs, and then they find a dead man who mixed alcohol and pills and OD'd. But I guess I've got a sick sense of humor, because the floor caves in and he falls. But Ellie and Riley took the booze from him before his body fell down. But once his body fell down, I actually laughed a little bit. Then Ellie laughed, and Riley calls out her sixth sense of humor, so I was like, oh dang, I felt a little bit called out there. But jumping back, once they're on that merry-go-round, they share some drinks, but just have a fun time laughing. And then they go into the photo booth, and the photo booth's a little bit different. I kind of missed the Facebook reference in the photo booth, but or just some type of social media where they're like, whoa, what's a Facebook? Or, I can share this. Granted, I guess this takes place in 2003, and social media wasn't as big as it is now. But yeah, they go there, and then they go to an arcade, and the arcade just looks so cool. I really want to go to an arcade now. Just seeing all the games there, seeing them play Mortal Kombat. The acting maybe could have been. No, actually, no. I think the acting on them playing the arcade was believable, because seeing some of my friends who have never played a video game, with Ellie never playing a video game, seeing her try to use the joystick, I don't know, looked a little bit fake, but granted, for people who have never played a game, that might be completely how you would play Mortal Kombat. But it was sweet. The entire episode was just really, really sweet to see. Then Ellie and Riley go to the food court, and that's where Riley's been hanging out for the past 3-ish weeks. And she gives Ellie the joke book volume 2, so they read a couple of jokes. They do the I know one joke that they didn't understand, which I didn't completely understand. When I had heard this joke actually just a few days ago, was how do computers get drunk? They take screenshots, and it's because you take shots to get drunk, but then you take screenshots on a computer. So there's that funny joke, which I'm sure probably a lot more people than me actually understood. But then Ellie finds some bombs that Riley's made, and is like, oh yeah, no, you're just gonna use these bombs to blow up soldiers like us. And Riley was like, I promise I would never do that to you. I would never let them do that. Then she's like, and how are they gonna listen to you? Why would they listen to you? So then she's like, you know what, this night was nothing ever about me or anything, and just storms off. And while they were having fun in the arcade, it does cut to an infected waking up, so it kind of teases that a little bit. And then original complaint that I was gonna have as Ellie was walking off, I was like, man, okay, so they never go to the Halloween store, because the Halloween store was one of my favorite parts of the DLC game. But then you hear screaming, and they faked me out good, so I was like, oh dang, like, did Riley actually get caught by this infected? And then I was like, okay, so they're gonna cut out the dancing, or how are they gonna do this? Nope. So Ellie runs back in to try to go find Riley after storming off, being pissed at her. And then she runs into a Halloween store, and there's a little like zombie prompt coming out of a grave and screaming. And then you see Riley in there. She's like, this was the last surprise. I figured you'd like it the most. But then Ellie forgives Riley. Riley gives her the book back, and then they have a little heart-to-heart moment. And then the werewolf mask and the clown mask get brought out. They put those on. They start dancing, and I'm not gonna lie, I was hyped to originally see those masks and be like, yeah, no, I loved the wolf mask, but we don't get to hear Ellie roar like she does in the game, so that's a little something. But they start dancing on the table with the masks on, and I appreciate the good fun that they had. I thought the dancing was a little bit cringy, but when you're having a fun time with somebody, does cringe really even matter? So, yeah, they're dancing, and then Ellie takes off her mask. Raleigh takes off her mask. She gives "They Don't Go," and then they kiss, and then they're all excited and like, what do we do next? And then Riley was like, we'll find out, only to be interrupted by the infected that woke up earlier. And so this is another way where it different or it takes a different path compared to the game. They do not really get to run from this infection, and it's just one infected that takes both of them down. Riley shoots it a couple of times, and then it tackles her, and then Ellie pulls out her switchblade and then stabs it a couple of times, and then it's on top of her, and then Riley comes and beats it with a bat or something, and then it gets back on Riley, and then Ellie finally stabs it in the head, and they kill it, and Ellie's like, yo, we did it, all hyped and stuff. And then Riley points to Ellie's arm, and Ellie realizes that she's bit. Riley shows that she's bit on her hand. So, excuse me. Yeah. Then I believe it cuts back to Ellie busting through the door and then starting to look for supplies, and then she gets to a drawer and she can't get the drawer open, and she's like, oh, come on, this stupid drawer. Cuts back to her in the Halloween shop, and now she's using the bat and just smashing all the glass, which made me think of The Last of Us Part 2 and how satisfying it is to smash glass in that game. That's what was going through my mind. But they eventually, Riley gives the whole quote where she's like, yeah, there's more stuff to break over there if you want. But Ella just sits down and is like, what are we going to do? And then Riley says, I see we've got two options. Option one shows her gun. It's quick and painless. And she's like, I'm not a fan of option one. And then she's just crying, but then just said, we can just be all poetic and lose our minds together. Whether it's 2 minutes, 2 days, we don't give that up. And that they could spend that together. And then I think Ellie asks, what's option 3? And then Riley's just like, there's not an option 3. So then it cuts back to Ellie, and she got the drawer open, and then she finds a needle and thread, and then goes down and starts stitching Joel up. And then we cut to the credits. But I was curious if we were going to see Ellie have to kill Riley, which we might get to see that next episode. I'm not entirely sure, but just from episode 4 where Ellie had said it wasn't her first time having to kill somebody. So I don't know if she was referencing that's the first, the infected, or she's killed people before that. There's just stuff to see, but another thing that I forgot, some of the banter that they had while they were on the rooftops in the alleyway. We learned that Ellie got her scar on her eyebrow from a 7-Eleven incident. So, trying to think if we have any information on that beforehand. I know Neil Druckmann has told us that there was a backstory to it, but from my knowledge, I don't think that we have ever gotten full confirmation on how she got her scar. So that was kind of cool and a little bit of insight to get thrown in there. But yeah, no, overall this episode was just really sweet, and man, it connected to me in a way to where there is something that is just magical about having that special person that you can go and spend time with somewhere, and that is it really makes me want to do that, to even with just like a group of friends to go spend time and do stuff together. So I know I've got some friends who are coming for my graduation in May, all the way from California, and just friends who are close to where I'm at, and I'm looking forward to getting to spend some time with them. So yeah, I don't know what. Maybe we'll go to an arcade and play some old retro video games, which I think will be really fun. But yeah, just so many sweet moments, and just being able to spend time with people, I think, are really connected with me on this episode. So I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. I know it differed from the game, and I don't know. I think this is the best way that they have differed from the game so far. I know all the other changes I've been a little bit sad about, but could argue that I think this might be a better telling than the Left Behind DLC story. And granted, I'm about to say I've only played the DLC about 7 times, which is probably a lot more than most people. But when it comes to the main Last of Us game, I could probably easily recount 20 times that I have played it, if not more. So I'm a little bit more of an expert when it comes to the main story compared to the DLC. But yeah. Alright. I will see you guys next week for the review of episode 8. Take care.